You know, we're this weird little country at the bottom of the world next to Antarctica, and I think we can, all come together to solve our big social issues. I think all businesses of the future will be social enterprises. Oh well. Like, I don't... Yeah.
If you're not really impressed, we'll give you your money back.
We can't give you your time back, though. Twice. Talks with innovators, creatives and enterprises. Gathers people making positive dents on society and captures and shares some of their stories, learns and journeys to now. I'm your host, Rebecca Stewart. Today's guest hails from Fielding and will be fielding questions from us with dignity about period poverty, buy one, give one model, and doing work in an impactful, digitised and environmentally friendly way. Pleased to welcome Jacinta Gulasekharam of Dignity New Zealand, a social enterprise creating access to sanitary items for all women.
Hi, hello, thank you so much for having me.
Jacinta, can you tell us a little bit about Dignity? What was the problem that you saw and how did you get started?
So Miranda and I had nothing to do after our undergraduate degree, and we were in Wellington, absolutely loving it, and wanted to stay here over summer. So we found through the university a entrepreneurial bootcamp, and we thought, okay, there's a stipend, we can have some fun, we can give this business thing a go. And we'd both been very passionate about access to sanitary items and found that really hard during university, being able to afford them. Sometimes it's like, okay, do I buy meat this week or do I buy tampons? Really, and that's happening now. New Zealand is a first world country, but that happens. So we went into the bootcamp wanting to create a solution for access to sanitary items. And we started off with a B2C model. We thought, okay, the best way would be to send sanitary items every month to women. But what the bootcamp really pushed us to do before creating a platform, before setting that up, they said, no, go and talk to people. Go do your customer discovery. And they pushed that for 3 weeks. And they said, you need to go talk to this many people. And through that, we actually found, access is a massive issue, and affordability. But underneath that was this unfairness. Why do I have to spend $15,000 over a lifetime on sanitary items? That's 2 years at university. That's a good way towards a house deposit. Why do I have to pay this? This was the common theme with the women. So we wanted to think differently about it. And the question we asked after that was, what if women didn't have to pay? And we felt that was quite game-changing. And, end of 2016, that was when new health and safety legislation was coming in. So it was placing well-being on the same importance as physical dangers in the workplace. And there were a lot of initiatives coming through, like yoga, table tennis, pizza lunches. And so there was this great opportunity to have a wellbeing initiative that provided sanitary items in the workplace, because women are there for 40 to 60 hours a week. Why not have that there and not be a burden? And also at the same time, a whole lot of media was coming through about girls missing out on school. So Miranda and I were living together at that time, and I remember going into her room crying and showing her this video of these girls at school that were talking about missing out and not coming because they didn't have any sanitary items, and it was really important to us to make an impact in this space.
Incredible. Yeah, what an amazing idea. And some people might say, oh, but in the workplace, only half of the people there, or sometimes in some industries less than half, would be using that. What would you say to that?
Yeah, well, that's totally fair. What we're seeing with the shift in wellbeing initiatives is that they need to be tailored. They need to be tailored to you as the individual. That you want to feel personally supported in the workplace for who you are as an individual, not just as a mass grouping of people. It's just like coffee, providing coffee at work. Some people don't drink coffee or have caffeine. It's like having beer. Some people don't have alcohol. So it's about businesses acknowledging the individual in the workplace. That's where it can become really powerful.
So what's your model now?
Totally. So out of that, we came up with a buy one, give one model, so a corporate subscription plan. So businesses like ANZ and Cigna, they provide sanitary items to their female employees. So we have a lovely display box. Should have bought one today. They're really cool. So they're just quite subtle in the bathroom, a little explanatory poster about what it's there for, and then we give the equivalent away to girls in school. So that's how it works.
Incredible. And so you came to that buy one, give one model through the Bootcamp because you were seeing that actually the problem that you thought was there was actually a slightly different problem.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate how much we got pushed to question what we came in with and question those assumptions that, okay, it's access, we'll just send them, the problem's solved, and because that isn't what we found. So I'm really happy with what we came up with.
Why did you choose the name Dignity?
It just encaptures everything. I don't know where it popped up from, but it just felt right.
So there's been some criticisms of the buy one, give one model, for example, with Tom's shoes, where, you know, although the intentions are good, they can undercut local industry and things like that. Have you encountered anything like that with the buy one, give one model with your organisation, with Dignity New Zealand?
I mean, we've been pretty lucky and not had much criticism, but I think we are so aware of it. We want to make sure the impact that we're providing is real and is not being perverse to the community. So we have a super close relationship with the schools. Every term we work with them to work out, okay, what is the impact? We're just about to undertake a piece of research on period poverty in New Zealand to actually dive deeper into the topic and work out, okay, are we doing the right thing? We constantly question ourselves if we're doing the right thing, because that's the whole purpose of what we're doing. If we're not getting to the root of the issue, then we need to change the way we work. But I think because we're working so closely with the schools, in every term hearing the comments is, gosh, it's really moving when you hear, you know, okay, girls came to school because this product was here for them. And it's like, okay, that is our job. That's what we want to happen.
So thinking about the current space in sort of, I guess, social enterprises specifically around menstruation, who else is working in that? And do you have a collaborator or anything like that?
So we work with the Wā Collective, who do sanitary cups for people. So we last year did a collaborative piece with a whole group of social enterprises, Little Yellowbird, Nisa, Wā Collective, the Nope Sisters, and so we did a period pack for Christmas. So we did all come together, and it was really cool because, you know, we're not fighting against each other. Social enterprise, we're just creating solutions to tackle big issues. There needs to be more of us in this space, not less. So we're super proud of the work that all these social enterprises do, and it's all about options for women. That's what we're passionate about. Women should have the option to choose what they want to use, and things should be available for them.
So thinking about the current space at a more government level, in 2017, Pharmac reviewed and made a decision not to fund sanitary products, saying that they are it's a normal bodily function, and so sanitary products are not medicines or medical devices. However, they do fund vitamins, acne products, and gluten-free foods. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh well, like I don't. Yeah. Honestly, that's where social enterprise comes in. It's providing, you know, sustainable solutions directly to the community. Government's there, and it's a slow process, and they've got their different things. I think the world moves on, right? And you can't focus on it. It's a real shame. It's a real shame, and you know, periods are an unfortunate circumstance of being a woman. They're annoying and they're expensive. So it's a real shame they've taken that view, but you can't dwell on it, and sometimes you can't change these things. So you need to press on and work out what you can change.
And so is that why you're thinking about the period poverty research and to sort of advocate in the space without being too direct about where you're advocating to, just kind of creating this research that it can be drawn upon at any point?
I think so. There's a complete lack of understanding of what is the impact of this, even in the workplace. Realising that women are suffering and pain and actually taking sick days for this. There's a real lack of research around it, which is staggering. And, you know, some places overseas have done it. But that's a big part of our mission as well, where we do want to educate and learn about this topic, to share with government, to share with community, to share with everyday people, to understand what is the impact of periods.
Because another avenue that government could go down is through GST. So the UK reduced GST on sanitary items from 17.5% to 5%. And Canada has removed the GST altogether. Those lovely Canadians. Do you think that we could see the same thing happen in New Zealand?
I have a different view on it. I did economics at university, and GST in New Zealand works well because it's so simple, because it's flat on everything, and it makes it easier. Once you start adding exceptions, it actually costs a lot more to add those exceptions in. And two things, to be honest, the companies will probably just raise their prices by 15% because they can get away with it. And also, when you're living on $10 a day, taking 15% off $8 or $10 tampons is not making a material difference. So it doesn't really change the game in that way.
What's been your biggest challenge from the start and at the moment?
Totally not the naming.
No, apparently not. That just came out of nowhere. So many times we've thought, what are we doing? Like, and another question is like, how did this happen? How did this happen? The first time Flick Electric did their order, and we're like, oh, okay, so what do we do now? We're just totally making it up as we go along, and kind of acknowledging that and getting real adults to help us out along the way. Initially it was scaling. So, you know, going from 80 boxes a month to companies and 80 giving away, to then when ANZ started doing their trial on Tory Street with 600 women, which was 240 boxes a month. So we were initially storing the boxes at Miranda's flat, Ubering them down to the businesses, or also using Russell from NOCAR Cargo. But you can't do that with 240 boxes of sanitary items. That's not how it works. So we had to scale, and you know, we both have business degrees, but we've had to learn more on the go with having this business is scaling. So now we've got a storage unit, we've got a courier company, we've got an operations manager. So we really had to learn, okay, how are we going to scale to make this nationwide, to make this big impact that we want? And it's not going to happen by having this stuff at our flat.
It's hard because you don't want to complain about lots of business. No one's really feeling that sorry for you in that, but it is like you can't plan for how quickly or slowly it's going to grow. So
no. I think at the moment it's working out, okay, where are we going to, and targeting the right places that what would really benefit from this initiative. So being strategic, I think, with the future of dignity, because it came out of I would never call it luck. I would honestly never say we were lucky, because we worked so hard and found a really good product market fit. But yeah, where are we going to next? We need to have a good think about.
David here with a quick PSA about where this Love Not Money show is heading in the next 3 months. I'm stoked to announce that I'll be publishing daily shows as an official media partner at the 10th Social Enterprise World Forum this September in Edinburgh. Getting daily highlights and learns direct to listeners around the world is going to be one of the more purposeful challenges of my year, including the small matter of how I'm going to get there. In nearly 3 years of this audio project to capture and amplify stories of people making positive dents on society, the show has received listens in nearly half of all the countries in the world. You can help make that effort sustainable by donating what you can via the show's Patreon page at patreon.com/twicepodcast, and by contacting me via any of the links in the show notes to sponsor a future episode, much like our new sponsor, Do Good Jobs. Do Good Jobs is a Kiwi jobs board connecting great people to do good. They connect passionate, talented people, aka do-gooders, with work vacancies that aim to create social and environmental change. Job listings are from not-for-profit, NGOs, charities and social enterprises here in New Zealand, which focus on good causes including international development, community jobs, green environmental jobs, conservation jobs and more. These listings include paid employment, voluntary roles and also internships. Check out their blog listed in the show notes to access great resources and profiles of do-good people. Their founder, Julia, was a guest back on episode 41, where you can hear more of the organisations and her background, which makes for an easy episode match from the archives. My thanks to Do Good Jobs for their support of this show. Returning to Rebecca's chat with Jacinta about how building a social enterprise impacts her day job and vice versa.
So you say both you and your business partner have business degrees and you actually have a full-time job, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Can you talk about how, what you've learnt in that job influences DignityNZ in the other way as well? Is there anything you're learning from DignityNZ that's helping you in your day job at the moment?
They're very complementary, and I got my day job because of Dignity, which was really interesting. So, my boss saw that I was entrepreneurial. It's a startup as well, so I do business development there. And Dignity's made me really confident. It's made me confident about talking to people about what I'm working on and feeling okay with asking, hey, do you want to have a look? Can you, help me with this introduction? So they've been really complimentary in the ways of learning about sales, how to, do effective emails as well. So they've really worked well together. With marketing as well, doing a lot of LinkedIn and newsletters and things. So they're very complimentary.
There's no classroom like actually doing it, is there? You just learn so quickly.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. You say you've got a business degree, but actually starting your own business is where you kind of do the real degree, I would say.
Do you sometimes think your years of doing the business degree was, let's just call it theoretical rather than wasted? Like, do you sometimes have the regret that you didn't get straight into the startup scene?
Oh, that's a hard one. I didn't super enjoy the academia and the assignments and things. What I enjoyed was getting involved. I loved being involved in the Students' Association. I loved volunteering. I loved getting out and about in Wellington and learning about different groups and learning about different issues. Coming from fielding 16,000 people to Wellington with, almost 500,000 people, I just got involved and learnt. So I will never regret that time. Having the opportunities I got through being at a good university.
Can you tell us your first, worst and best jobs that you've ever had?
So my first job, that came through work experience. At Fielding High School, when you're in year 10, you have to do a day of work experience. You have to get out there and you have to go and ask a business to do work experience. So I did that at a costume jewellery shop. So that was with a couple who are a small business owner. It was next to Valentine's, so the ladies could go get their tunics and then come in for a funky necklace, which was really cool. So after I did that work experience, they gave me a job. So I did that for 2 or 3 days a week. So that was when I was 14. And I think from there I learnt so much about running a small business and doing the till and being friendly to people, I guess, or when things go wrong, how you deal with that. So that was an incredible opportunity I got from a really young age, I guess. Best job would be actually at Red Badge at the stadium. There was something really cool about that job, that it was well paid. So that was for security. So whether that's ticketing or a lot of time they put me up in VIP, so I'd check people's passes to see that they were in the right lounges. But I loved it. It was well paid. You got a text whether you wanted a shift or not, so there was that flexibility. And there was such a community about the people that worked there. The people that, were on reception and checking you in and checking you out, they knew all your names. And everyone was so friendly. There was just something really beautiful about that community, which is really interesting. It was such a bizarre little job. Oh, yes, I have my worst job.
Can I just ask you before you get to the worst? It sounds really strange that you found community in security work. I mean, is that not odd to you, Rebecca?
Oh, it's really interesting, but I think it's so cool because it's not something that people would usually think of as like their best job, but you've identified these things that everyone wants in their work, which is like flexibility and community, and it's just, you don't know where you're going to find those things.
No, it was just amazing how they made that. They fostered that community, and it made me want to go. It made me want to go, earn a little bit of money, watch the rugby, say hi to some people, stand around for ages. I really enjoyed it. But one I did not enjoy, so there's a lot of reasons I didn't enjoy this one. I worked at a call centre for 3 months in my final year of high school, calling up for Forest and Bird. So calling people at dinner time.
Oh, gosh.
And asking for money. So cold calling, and every hour you'd have to go and put up the amount you raised or didn't raise. And it was on a 90-day trial, and it's the only 90-day trial I've failed. And it was the environment, again, that they listened in on your calls randomly. There was this pressure with beneficiaries or retirees to get them to hand over their money, and it made me very uncomfortable.
And do you think that's why I'm interested that you used the word failure there, but that's why you were not successful in that 90-day trial, because it didn't sit right with you and you're maybe too nice, do you think?
Definitely. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy trying to get people's money and then interrupt their dinner. One person said, I'll just get my wife, and put the phone down, and clearly, was never getting his wife. So I sat on the phone for a little bit. And one of the other people in the office, we were ringing about the fairy tern birds, that they're going extinct. And so the guy said, hey, I'm ringing about the fairy tern birds. How's your evening going? And the person said, we're just having dinner. We're just having some fairy tern. So I think I did learn a lot.
I wish I could use that. It's so funny.
It was bad, and I'm never working in a call centre again.
In your role with DignityNZ, what would failure look like? Like, what would it look like if it all just came crashing down?
To me, I think worse than, maybe people not choosing to do the subscription or the initiative anymore. The worst thing would be in terms of that give one, that we were creating a perverse outcome in the community. That would be failure to me, is that the give one was not creating good outcomes, and that it was not being helpful. That would be failure to me.
Who would you say, as a child, did you have any, mentors or inspirations that you want to tell us about?
I was always very inspired by Helen Clark. I think, learning now about some of her politics, I wouldn't agree with everything. But as a young woman in a small town, I was so inspired by her. I liked having that role model that, yes, you can be a woman and you can be Prime Minister. You can be in charge of a company. We can be in charge of a company, but in charge of a country. I found that really cool, and it kind of surprises me that in America young girls don't have that. They see a wall of male presidents, and they don't see that potentially as an option. So I was really inspired by Helen.
So you are talking a lot about something that people feel sometimes embarrassed about. Has there been any really tough conversations where you've had to, explain to your grandparents that you're working in menstruation space or anything like that? Have you had any conversations where you've felt really shy?
No, I think because we talk about periods all the time, so we're really not bothered. And I think we do try and come at it with that dignity angle. Sometimes we will leave a business meeting with a corporate and we wouldn't have said the P word. And we all know what we're talking about, but we won't use that word, and that's okay. If that's just the slow way of awareness, and it's about making sure that everyone's comfortable in that space. We don't want people to feel uncomfortable. We want them to be aware of the issue. No, our grandparents are really proud. My grandma loves it. Miranda's grandpa really loves it, actually. He thinks it's so cool. Which is really cool. My parents are way too proud and they Facebook comment on everything and it's very embarrassing.
What kind of comments?
Just like, so proud of you, love you lots.
You're like, Mum, here's a photo of you and your five in the bath.
Yeah, they're so proud. I think we try and match the energy of the room and come at it in a way that makes people feel comfortable to talk about it, because it's really confronting and it's hard, but we're trying to change the corporate's view of it in New Zealand, and New Zealand can have an old view about some things sometimes.
What analogue, so this can't be digital, your answer can't be a digital thing, what analogue, object, item or thing can you not live without?
Oh, that's really hard. I'm born in 1995. Always beside my bed I have a book. That's just one thing I always have. I always have a book beside my bed. I go to the library probably every week. Even my library card's on my phone, so I can't even say my library card. It's on my phone. It's on my phone.
That's fun. Is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to, professionally, personally?
I think just people. I think people that have helped me along my journey. There's quite a bit of criticism out there about old white men. And to be honest, I wouldn't be where I am without old white men. If my principal hadn't recognised me for the hard work I was doing at university, if my local MP, Ian McKelvey, he picked me out of, head girls and head boys to be the youth MP. And that was a really big start in my journey towards, finding purpose and work. So, I got to do that. And then I worked in his local electorate office, and then I worked in Parliament. And that was in my first year of university. So incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And I have so much respect for him. And also Sir Neville Jordan, when I was on the Victoria Council. His work in making sure that there are strong diversity principles on that council. So there is equal gender representation, there is strong Māori representation on there. And he did that. He believed in that. So I have huge credit and huge respect for those men.
How much more successful do you think your social enterprise business would be if men got periods?
Probably a lot more successful, maybe. Probably a lot more successful. There are a lot more male decision makers in businesses. And so usually the workplace is framed around men. It's framed around the beer and other initiatives that suit them. Even bikes. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't ride a bike to my work meetings with some of the outfits that I wear as a female. So probably maybe a lot more successful. But to be honest, I don't know if dignity would exist if men got periods, because they probably would be free.
Oh, nice echo.
Very true.
And the second part of that question is, what can men do on listening to this in the near future to actually both support and help you, your business, and any woman that has a period? What can they practically do as opposed to just feeling embarrassed?
Buy dignity, if they could provide it at their workplace. That would be really cool. I think just give it a try, and we do surveys with the female employees to see how they feel about it. And, on average, females feel 85% more supported in the workplace. So I think listening to that kind of research and giving it a try, I think give things a try in areas where you're not comfortable. And I think what's helped a lot of the time is listening to your female employees. What do they want? What do your female leads think of something like that? Listen to them. Take a seat and just have a chat.
Also, in a more personal sense, where someone mentions that they have their period or they talk about tampons, some men, and I'm not even talking about teenage boys, I'm actually talking about like full-grown men will be like, or like, don't talk to me about that, or like, kind of seem a little bit disgusted. So I would ask every man to just like not make a strange face if someone talks about period. I shouldn't have to ask people to do that, because it's those little things, and this is what we've learned about racism and sexism. There's little things that slowly build up that create shame and create taboos and mean that things like this aren't funded or aren't provided properly, which leads to period poverty. So even tiny things like that, just normalising really has quite a wide effect, I think. What's coming up for the next 3 to 6 months for Dignity? So your second to last question.
Oh, you tell me. Just cracking your head.
You seem so chill about it, which is just like, it's actually really refreshing. A lot of the guests we have are like, yeah, my 5-year plan is this, and these are the exact things, and it sounds like it's all super organised. But it sounds like you've taken advantage of this massive gap you've seen in the market, which has been research based, and you're just like, it is what it is.
So it's about how do we make sure we make the most of this opportunity to do this research. So that's probably the biggest piece that we've got coming up.
Where can we find you and Dignity New Zealand publicly online?
Totally.
That you'd like to share?
So you can go to dignitynz.com. Flick us an email, hello@dignitynz.com if you want to chat or raise something, potentially have your workplace involved or your school. We'd love to hear from you. We're on Twitter, so @tweetdignity. On Facebook, I think it's Dignity for All. So they all have, they're all taken, so you have to do random things.
Yeah.
And I think we've got an Instagram, so it's _DignityNZ. Is that all the social thingies? Oh, and on LinkedIn as well. Just search Dignity NZ. Follow us so we can get more followers.
Well, you can find me on Twitter @Bo_Reka on Twitter and Instagram, and David @David_Binstead on Twitter. Well, thank you, Jacinta from Dignity NZ, for your time today. I hope you had an okay time.
It was pretty good.
Is there anything else you want to share with us?
No, keep doing what you're doing. So when we were doing the bootcamp here, she's like, just put some in the bathroom and talk to Biz and see what happs.
Yeah.
Actually try
Do it right
what
here.
your idea was. And we were so scared. so scared.
Why were you scared?
If it wasn't what people needed, if we were just making, again, a whole lot of assumptions. But no, people loved it and they used it and it was like, okay, let's do this.
Such a cool service. Thank you so much.
Kia ora, it's David here, rounding out Rebecca's main episode chat with Jacinta from Dignity NZ, recorded here in the Pod Cave at Biz Dojo Co-work Wellington. The conversation continues after this short outro with sidebars that didn't make the main episode cut. You'll have to decide for yourself whether you think Jacinta is the friendliest and most positive security guard you'll ever meet, but it's as someone who's taking an evidence-based approach to solving society's biggest problems that shone through for me. Rebecca quickly got to the heart of the problem they're trying to solve, and Jacinta opened up about leveraging failure as a motivator to contribute purposefully via her role at Dignity NZ. You can find out more about their work and that of the other organisations mentioned in the episode via comprehensive links and show notes via your podcast app of choice and also via twicepodcast.com. Episodes now feature chapter markers, which mean you can jump to specific parts of the conversation if you're listening in a podcast app like Overcast, Pocket Casts, or Apple Podcasts. Thanks to Market Armand for making that magic available to podcast producers free of charge. Additional to episode sponsor Do Good Jobs, I'm grateful to the following organisations and companies for their support. Emily and Carl from Plankton Agency, who've distilled the show into a new logo design which I'll be excited to share with you imminently. In the meantime, you can check out their great work and services over at www.plankton.agency. Also, check out Biz Dojo for co-work countrywide and the Collider Wellington programme of monthly events. Both organisations have sponsored the show for the last year and continue to support the show getting into your ears. Why don't you share an episode you particularly enjoy with your mates via a short note and by tagging them and us in a comment at Twice Podcast via Twitter, Instagram and even the Devil Facebook. Dazzle fellow humans by showing them how easy it is to subscribe to this show, Talks with Innovators, Creatives and Enterprises, aka Twice, via many places including Apple Podcasts, Spotify and also on the web. Next up, we're featuring Jason Pemberton and Samantha Jones chatting about their Campus Starter Social Enterprise outdoors-based course initiative. Thanks again to episode 80 guest Jacinta Gulasekharam and guest co-host Rebecca Stewart, and also to our sponsors and supporters, Do Good Jobs, our Patreon patrons, and BizDojo and Collider Wellington. Most importantly, a big thank you to you for giving us time in your ears. It means a lot. Cheers. You talk a lot about confidence and kind of self-belief that there's no such thing as a problem. It's only really a potential solution in waiting. Is there a time in your life when you felt that you weren't that character or you didn't have that self-belief and like kind of like a before and after? And what has helped contribute, apart from what you've mentioned, to that change in your attitude?
Oh, totally. I'm very different to how I was 2, if not 3 years ago. So I ran for student president at the university, and that was a really hard time. Like, I am an introvert and also very, very self-conscious and things like that. So that was really hard, putting up banners and flyers, and it was so public. It was so public, and I'd also wanted it for 2 years and, felt like I was a great candidate, had a really good plan, and I found out at the same time as everyone else whether I got that or not. So that was for, it's a full-time role for a year, and I didn't really have any other plans. And so I found out that night that I wasn't successful, and it was awful. I think the whole time it was awful because student politics can be really nasty, and I was really harsh on myself. And it was a kind of a really dark time, to be honest, and I had that from a lot of people. But that weekend after I lost, I went to Festival for the Future and heard Daniel Flynn from Thank You Water speak, and that's where I knew, no, I'm gonna do other things. It doesn't have to be through this route. I can do other things. So I was very grateful to have gone straight to that after a really horrible public election among my peers. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're really familiar with how failure sometimes can feel, but it feels like you've capitalised on it really quickly as opposed to dwelling on it.
Yes, that's just what you have to do, and it hurt and it was really hard, totally. But I think I would not be who I am, and Dignity would not be here without that moment. And you've got to take moments like that and work with that pain. And
dream job.
I'd honestly love to have maybe not the company I have now, but another company just with a whole lot of boss women, and we're just like a consulting firm that employs so many people. We've got a flexible workplace. Just like a really cool women-led business that employs a whole lot of people.
What steps are you taking to make that happen?
Starting my own company at 21 is not a bad idea.
Check.
I'm in, as long as there's free tampons in the bathroom.
Always.
What others are you looking for in that organisation of the future?
I think it'd be cool to have a lawyer, a designer, probably an accountant as well. So I think some kind of all-encompassing business support service be really cool. More women should be in business. We make incredible decision makers. We're the ones that, do we need more toilet paper? Have we got enough dishwashing liquid? We perform these everyday decisions, which makes us the perfect people to actually run businesses, because business is just making decisions all the time, and women are incredibly equipped at doing that.
Pleased to welcome Jacinta Gulasekharam of Dignity New Zealand. Yeah, your face, you're like, that's not my name.
Are you ever negative about anything?
She's very on brand. Yeah, she's good.
There must be something we can find.
Maybe you'll find it within an hour. You'll probably find it. I'm not hangry, so that's the trick. That's the trick.
Great, just eating, right?
Yeah, I'm fed, so you haven't seen me at my hangriest.
Yeah.
I'm very happy for us and for you.
Yeah, you should be. It's dangerous. One time my flatmate walked into the kitchen and I was sobbing, like making a sandwich because I was so hungry. I'd gone beyond hangry into just crying because I was so hungry.
Oh, bless you. Poor love.
Oh, superb. I think that was that was her giveaway. We're going to get to the negative later, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, perfect. Do you know of anybody, either of you, that has had a good working at a call centre experience?
I was just thinking about that because I was going to say, who is it that does succeed in those roles? But actually, I have a feeling that Tina used to have a role that I don't know if it's call centre, but she had a really positive spin on it.